Brewing for beer, brewing and event videos.
Okay, today we're going to do some final round judging for UK SMaSH Off. I've got 8 beers over here for the final round, and I'm not promising to do all 8 of them on camera, but we'll see what we can do. Judging criteria for the UK SMaSH Off: each category is judged out of 1 to 10. It's aroma, appearance, flavour, mouthfeel and overall impression, which are more or less the same categories used by BJCP. Difference being it's 1 to 10 for each one instead of a varying number of them. So first up we're going to do 49 ppm 268. Can you see that? Cool. Right, so it's a Belgian Pilsner malt, SMaSH hops, Belgian Abbey M47 yeast. Interesting. So SMaSH Off, SMaSH beers, single malt and single hop. So that is the recipe. Right, let's get some in a glass. Alright, appearance, yeah. What have we got? Strawy coloured, brilliantly clear. Head retention looks good. Fairly loose white head on it. We'll call that 9. Aroma's good. Not an awful lot of malt character there, as you'd expect from Pils malt. Cleanly fermented, so nothing that you wouldn't want there. SMaSH hops coming through well. Some esters from the yeast. And a very, very low phenolic, spice phenolic. Okay, we'll go for 8 for aroma on this one. Where's my pen gone? I did have one here. Just whilst I can still remember what scores I'm giving. So appearance was 9, aroma 8. Mouth feels a little bit fuller than I would have expected for something in as a Pilsner SMaSH. Especially for a 4.7%, I wouldn't expect it to be that fully full-bodied. Good carbonation, no alcohol warmth, no creaminess, no astringency. So we'll go 6 for mouthfeel. On the grounds it's a bit too full-bodied, it's not as drinkable as I'd expect the style to be. Flavour, characteristic Pils malt, getting a little bit of floral, a little bit of fruity esters. There's some spiciness there as well. Certainly getting some of the Belgian yeast character coming through on that. It's a little bit phenolic. tiny little bit of mineral aftertaste on it, so I don't know if this brewer's done any water treatment or not. If they have, they might want to look at the water treatment. If they haven't, they might want to look at either treating their water or using bottled water for it. That does cause a slight clash in the flavour though, that mineral with the phenolic, with the malt. So going to give it a 5 for flavour. Overall impression? Drinking pleasure is about a 6. It's a decent beer. No major issues with it. Like I say, there is just that little bit of mineraliness in the flavour which detracts from it. So hence the 6 for the first one. Okay, next up is 232 Hotel Echo 9 Uniform November. Weyermann floor malted Bohemian Pilsner malt with Saz hops. So again, that classic combination, Pils malt and Saz. Bottle condition, so hence me being careful not to shake it up. And it's used Yeast 2124 Bohemian yeast. IBUs are listed as 35 with an ABV of 4.7. Slight hiss on opening. Give it a bit of a rough pour, get some head up. And let's have a look. Okay. Pardon the glasses, they're out of the dishwasher, so they're not immaculately beer clean. Right, again, straw to amber, deep straw, brilliant clarity, very low head on it. So we're going to go for about a 7 there for appearance, because it could do with more head, probably due to low carbonation, but we'll see when we get into it, and low head retention. Aroma. Okay, that's strange. I'm not sure, I've not used Yeast 2124 Bohemian, but I'm actually getting, pardon me, some banana, which is surprising. Normally a characteristic of wheat beer yeasts. Low grainy malt from the Pils malt. Not an awful lot of hop coming through. It's being stamped on by the banana and some esters from the yeast. Aroma 6. Mouthfeel. Light bodied, very low carbonation. No alcohol warmth, no creaminess, no astringency. But the very low level of carbonation does let it down. 5 for mouthfeel. Flavour. Moderate grainy malt. There's floral from the hops. Almost a tiny bit of woody. There's some fruity characteristics from the fermentation as well. So I'm not going to say an awful lot about this because, like I said, I don't know that yeast, but my guess would be it was probably fermented a bit too warm for what the yeast strain likes. Yeah, flavour will go a 7. Overall impression, it is let down by the low carbonation. Whether it wasn't primed enough, not sure, but we'll say that's 5 for overall impression. So to that brewer, up your priming level a bit. Make sure it's properly conditioned before sending it in. Okay, next up is 79 Foxtrot Romeo Uniform Golf X-Ray. I'll probably have to reverse this camera because that's showing us backwards on the screen here. So this one's Dingman's Pilsen malt, Styrian Goldings hops, and 3522 Belgian Ardennes yeast. IBU listed as 28 and it's 5.2 ABV. Now that sounds like an interesting combination. I've not used 3522 Belgian Ardennes. Let's see what it brings to the table. So slightly better hiss than the last one. Looks like it's got a bit more carbonation. Okay. Ever so slightly hazy, this one. Not quite as brilliantly clear as the last couple. You can see bubbles going up the glass. It looks like it's got good carbonation. Fairly loose white head. So where are we coming with this one? Slight haziness, so we'll call this an 8. Head retention looks a lot better than the last one, but not as good as the first one. Okay. Yeah, we're getting our Pils malt again. The hops are different this time. As you'd expect, there is a slight difference between the Goldings varieties and SMaSH. Yeah, slightly woodier this one. So aroma, we're getting some fruity esters from the yeast. Yeah, there's a very low phenolic in the background, but it's very low on the aroma. Overall, quite nice smelling. We'll call it an 8. Okay. So the mouthfeel on this one's good. Light bodied, moderate carbonation. Very, very, very slight alcohol warmth. No creaminess, no astringency. Mouthfeel's an 8. Flavour. It kind of feels like there isn't enough malt in the flavour to carry the hops and the yeast. The balance feels slightly off. It could do with a bit more malt. Because some of the yeast characteristics, and this was the Belgian Dens, is stomping over the malt characteristics. Hops are nice. Yeast is very interesting. I'm going to give it a 7 for flavour. It could have just done with a bit more malt interest, but for a SMaSH, it's very good. Overall impression. I'm going to give it a 7. It's a nice beer. The hops and the yeast give it plenty of interest. Just a little bit more malt character to balance it out would be good. It's something that done as a SMaSH with a different choice of malt could be brilliant. Or if you do it as a non-SMaSH, just a little bit of biscuit or motta in there, just to give it that bit more malt interest. Thank you very much, I like that one. Okay. Next up we have 9 Zulu, 5 Golf, Whiskey Echo Juliet Kilo. Duh. There we go. So again, Pils malt. This time it's Hallertau Blanc hops. The yeast is WLPO 29, 26.5 IBUs and 4.98 ABV. So, if you haven't guessed yet, the Pils malt seems to be very popular. But we're seeing a nice range of hops used. And an interesting range of yeast selections as well. So straight away, this one's got a good carbonation on it. Get in there. Very, very slight haze. Hardly noticeable. Good head, good retention, loose white head. So, fourth beer. Appearance. We'll give it a 8 again, just because of the slight haze there. Aroma. Interesting. At this point, I'll digress a little and tell you a story. There's about 14% of the population that has a genetic trait, which means they taste coriander or cilantro if you're across the pond. Has a soapy taste. It tastes like soap or cleaning product. Now, like I say, only 14% of the population have that genetic trait. I'm one of them. I know that is a shortcoming in my sensory analysis, so I always try and account for it. This beer I'm getting a strange aroma on it. It's a cross between citrus and soap. Now, I'm putting this down not to a brewing fault at this stage, although if I taste it, that may change. But from the aroma alone, I'm not going to call that a fault. I'm going to put that down to my genetic disposition. So underlying that, I'm getting what you'd expect from Pils malt. There's fruity esters there, there's a slight citrus, and then there's this back end soapy aroma I'm detecting, which probably another judge wouldn't get. So because of that, I'm going to call it a 7 for aroma. Mouth feels good, nice light body, moderate carbonation. Not noticing any alcohol warmth, creaminess, astringency. Not really getting any other mouth sensations. It's not sweet, it's not excessively bitter, it's quite well balanced. We'll call it 8 for mouthfeel. Flavour. Flavour, I'm quite liking that. Very slight mineral edge to it. What was it? WLPO 29, I can't remember off the top of my head. Whether that's intentional or whether it's a side effect of water used, I couldn't tell you. It isn't really detracting from the beer. There's slightly bitter finish on it. What was the estimated? Which is surprising for an estimated 26.5 IBUs. It's the first one that's finished that dry with a slight bitterness on the end. Yeah, we'll give that a 7 again. And finally, overall impression. Nice, light, refreshing beer. That's an 8. Okay. Next up, we'll go with this one. What we got left? Yeah, we'll go with this one. So this one is Sierra Victor Papa Delta 68 Yankee Papa. So if you can't see that, it's Best Moles Pilsner, Hallertauer Blanc, with Mangrove Jack's M29 French Saison yeast. ABV 4.8, IBU 21.3, and it's bottle conditioned. Wow, that is clear. So let's see what we got, apart from a bubbly glass. Brilliantly clear, pale straw colour, good thick white head. Looks like it's got good retention. It's quite tight bubbles on this one. Appearance is absolutely banging. We're going to give it a 10. First 10. Well done. Right, aroma. a very light grainy malt in the background. And possibly low fruity hops, or they're just getting stomped over by some fruity esters from the yeast. There are moderate fruity esters there. And a low to moderate spicy phenolic. Aroma 7. Mouthfeel. Very light bodied, moderate carbonation, no warmth, no creaminess, no astringency. Mouthfeel's 8. Flavour. Flavour's a little bit watery. There isn't really enough malt to pull it off. Again, the characteristics of the yeast are too dominant for the malt choice. General advice there, Pils malt is very delicate. It doesn't generally pair well with more dominant and flavourful yeast strains. And what was this one again? French Saison yeast. So I'm getting some light phenolics. I'm getting moderate fruity esters. I'm guessing if this was done with French Saison yeast, it wasn't done very high. So it was probably moderate temperatures for the yeast strain, because whilst the yeast characteristics and fermentation characteristics are there, they're there to such a degree they overpower the Pils malt. They don't excessively stomp all over the rest of the beer. Flavour 5. Overall impression, it's okay. I'll just say that the malt choice isn't right for the rest of the ingredients and call it a 6. Okay, bear with me, I'll be back in a minute. I've got to go and rinse some glasses. And you're back in the room, as they say. Okay, this next one up I can tell you very little about. All I can tell you is it's Kilo Juliet Echo Golf Whiskey X-Ray Zulu Yankee. So all letters, no numbers, no description, no malt, no yeast, no hops. It doesn't get any more blind tasting than this. So I'll go as far as saying that's brilliantly clear. It's light gold, low, loose white head with low retention. I can see the head's already going. I can't really judge it against anything other than a good looking pint of beer, because I've got no information at all to go on. I'd say that's about an 8. It looks good for whatever it is. Aroma. Interesting. Don't know what malt it is. It doesn't smell like pills. It's a little bit darker, so it could be a pale ale malt of some description. It could just be a darker lager malt or something. It could still be some variety of Pilsner malt or other. Hops. Not a lot. Slightly fruity. Maybe very low woody or piney. It smells nice. Some fruity esters there from the yeast, whatever it is. I'm going to give it a 7 for aroma. Mouthfeel. Light body, moderate carbonation, slight astringency, a little bit of warmth there. I'm not 100% convinced there isn't some fusel alcohol in here. I think you'll find this was fermented a bit too warmly. Mouthfeel. Six. Flavour. Flavour's strange. There's a couple of things going on there, and without any information at all, I can't make any assumptions. I'm getting a strange aftertaste on it, which I've only experienced before from beers that have fusel alcohol issues, which is normally what happens when you push yeast to higher temperatures than they're happy with. It's got a light mineral note on the finish, where where it's a little bit, the sulfur is a little bit high. I'm not saying it's the case here, but other beers, some other beers I've had this same aftertaste in have used pH 5.2 buffer. My advice to anyone using it is don't. It is terrible at buffering your beer to 5.2. It's very good at spoiling your beer. Again, I'm not saying that is the case here. I don't know what the process was, what the ingredients were. there's something there that is not quite happy. Whether that's from an ingredients or a process point of view, I can't tell you. By all means, drop me a message online, tell me what your process was, what your ingredients were, and I'm happy to discuss it with you offline. Flavours are 4. Overall impression, because of the issues I've already mentioned, overall impressions are 4. Like I say, please feel free to get in touch with me about that one. I'd love to know a bit more about it. Okay, we've got 2 left. Weyermann Pilsner and Red X. So we'll go with this one first, because the other one's likely to be stronger. Well, stronger flavoured. Charlie Michael Yankee, Quebec, November, Romeo Lima 6. These numbers are a bit of a mouthful, but I seem to recall the year I entered them being much longer, so that's good. So this one is, we have a style listed. It's listed as a Trappist single, BJCP category 26A. I'm not going to do a full BJCP judging of it. You'll be glad to hear, or possibly not so glad to hear. It uses malt is Weyermann Pilsner, hop is Pearl, yeast is Mangrove Jacks M47 Belgian, for an IBU of 35, ABV of 5, and there's a bit of extra information on the bottom. Dry hopped, yes. Protofloc, yes. Bottle conditioned, yes. Serve at 10 to 13. Use a non-nucleated glass. Well, I got the non-nucleated glass. This is about 14 at the moment, 14C. That way, all the beers are at the same temperature, so they've all been treated fairly. And for something like this, I find just that little bit warmer helps detect anything that would otherwise be missed. So we've got a gusher. I guess that's why they insist on the non-nucleated glass. Yeah, certainly going for it. And look at that, yeah. And it's still pouring out the bottle. Glad I'm not doing this indoors. Right, let's get some more blue roll. I think I need it. Alright, well, I don't think I can complain about the carbonation on this one. The clarity is going to have gone to pot because of the gushing. It will have stirred up sediment. Just having a quick wipe up here a sec, please bear with me. You are going to get to see your late done. So I'm not going to start with any assumptions. This beer might be infected, it might be overcarbonated, it could be any number of things. Gushing in and of itself is normally a bad sign though. Appearance 5. I can't fairly judge it because of the clarity. I can only give it an average score. Because of the gushing, clarity's been destroyed. I can't. Yeah. Good head retention on it. Okay, let's try and smell something through this head that's probably going to be difficult. So I am getting sort of your classic Pils malt aroma. I'm getting quite a strong ester profile from the yeast. I'm getting a moderate phenolic profile. So a little bit spicy, a little bit fruity. Phenolics being the spicy end, esters being the fruity end. Mouthfeel. Medium bodied, high carbonation, slight alcohol warmth. No creaminess, no astringency. Mouth feels a 7. What did I say for aroma? I didn't give it a number, did I? I'll give it a 6. So, flavour. This is an unhappy beer. The flavour profile of it is one of two things. The first thing it could be is the yeast's been driven too hard, it's got far too warm, generating some higher alcohols, or alternatively there is some form of infection going on. Now that could be a wild yeast, bacteria, or whatever. The fact we had such a strong gusher leads me to believe it's the latter, and there is some form of infection going on. At some point in the process, something that wasn't wanted has got into contact with the beer, either in fermentation or bottling. Flavours 4, overall impressions 4. Last one. This one is not Pilsner. So this one is Red X malt. So this one is 8 Papa Delta Foxtrot X-Ray Hotel Tango Golf. It's brewed using WLPO 36 Dusseldorf Alt Ale, Red X malt and Pearl hops. That sounds like a nice combination to me. The only other thing it says is ABV 5%. So, a good hiss. As you'd expect, the colour is very different to anything else we've seen today. It looks like a best bitter on the camera, but it is an absolutely stunning red to me in the window. Brilliantly clear, light tan head, small bubbles, quite loose head actually, and head retention looks low. Appearance for beer 8 is 8. Aroma, slightly more pronounced malt aroma. Getting some malt sweetness there, some almost a caramelly biscuit malt type aroma. Very gentle, very low floral hop. The appearance belies the aroma. You'd expect it to be a lot more aromatic for the appearance. There's nothing wrong with the aroma though, so we're going to give it an 8. Mouthfeel, light to moderate bodied, moderate carbonation, no alcohol warmth detected, no creaminess, no astringency. Going to give it an 8 for mouthfeel. Flavour. Flavour isn't what I was expecting. It's got a slightly sweet finish on it, as in a bit of caramel on the finish, but it's still dry and fairly bitter. So it's, when I say sweet finish, it's the caramel sweet type of flavour rather than the sweet finish. Hops are quite gentle. Could probably do with upping them a little bit, unless you're actually going for the style of a Dusseldorf alt beer, where I'd actually suggest changing the hops. Maybe think more along the lines of a Tettnang or Saz maybe. From the point of view of a beer and not any one particular style, I'll go with 7 for flavour. There's a very, very slight clash going on between the hops and the malt in flavour. Most people, I'm sure, probably wouldn't notice it. It's only because I'm here dissecting the beers. Overall impression? It's a 7. There we go, that's the scores on the doors. I'll add them all up, get them submitted online, and post a video for you. So everyone who's submitted beers to the UK SMaSH Off, thanks a lot, well done. It's a great competition. I've entered it myself before, and Brewing a SMaSH does indeed show how good you are at brewing. You haven't got places to hide things like you have in more complex beers. So, well done everyone. Hope you enjoyed the video. It's a bit of a long one, but there were 8 beers there for you. All the best.